A warm welcome to all of you, wherever you may be watching from around the world, to the beautiful city of Xiamen in Fujian province, southern China, for a much anticipated event, the 2021 C&D Xiamen Marathon. Generally, the flagship marathons open the distance running calendar every year, and this year, serving that purpose once more, albeit slightly later than originally planned. As you know, things can change very quickly in the pandemic prevention years, and really this year more than any year we can say we needed the Xiamen Marathon, and here it is for us. VIPs from the Chinese Athletic Association, local organizer committee and Xiamen City on hand, along with the runners. All have been waiting for this moment for many months now. The Xiamen Marathon, the biggest marathon to be held in over a year. 12,000 people taking part today. Incredible achievement. Great conditions for running today too. 17 degrees, 34% humidity and a slight breeze is all. Looks like it is set to be a dry race so far early in the morning. No sign how sunny and hot it might get later on. And this is the site that the marathon community has been waiting quite a while to see. 12,000 runners and 3 start waves this year with full safety and health protocols in effect, waiting for the run. There were a couple of marathons run over the past 12 months. It was supposed to be Shanghai last November, but nothing as big as this. And that's a great sight to see. Busy morning of setting up and getting the race prepared for all, and now it's time for the VIPs to fire the starter gun, which they do in the 2021 C&D Xiamen Marathon is underway. Look at that energy from the front runners. They have waited a while for this race, rescheduled from its usual race date on the calendars, but that just gave these runners a bit more time to get prepared and train for return. And now the race is on. Runners streaming through the gates, 3 waves leaving roughly 10 minutes apart. Each of these runners have completed rigorous safety and health protocols. Very much still a recovery year here, so as expected, food precautions and prevention measures in effect at every level. One brilliant piece of news that of course did happen in that rescheduling period was the upgrade of the race itself to Elite Platinum Label Road Race by All Athletics. Very few races reached that level of organization, planning and execution. The Xiamen Marathon honored alongside the 6 other world-class marathon majors annually held: Boston, London, Berlin, Chicago, New York and Tokyo, and has become the 2nd race in China to win this label. So this first staging of the new platinum label must be a very proud moment for the CAA, LC and the organizers. The race itself obviously just got better every year and produced some very fast times. 18 years since its inception in 2003, Kenyan Moses Mossop's time of 2 hours, 6 minutes and 19 minutes at the 2015 race is a standing record for the Xiamen Marathon as one of the best marathon results in China to date. So it is the perfect flagship race to have back in the schedule, and now back on the streets as well. Amazing job from everybody involved. And as we can see, the runners now making their way onto the main course as they do every year by way of the Fujian Road that links the start-finish area, which is the Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center, to the coastal Huanda Road, which makes up the bulk of the 42.195 kilometers today. That's the leading pack already breaking away, and that looks like Yang Dinghong at the front, and this is the army of runners that is trailing off behind him right now, all still in the opening 2 kilometers, but we should be seeing them start to spread out very quickly. 12,000 runners that were registered and drawn from almost 72,000 applications, and you can be sure the ones that did make the selection will be in the best form they can be and hunting for personal best today. Back with the leaders as they turn onto Huanda Road. Looks like 7 runners breaking away already. And leading them, that's Zhang Zhenglong, Yang Dinghong and Ren Guangyu. All 3 of them can be considered favorites today, all just setting into their strategies. As you can see, already setting a benchmark pace for the rest. Strong opening from all 3, good pace, but as elites they know this is literally the tip of the iceberg. Keep each kilometer down to about 3 minutes as possible, then you're in pretty good shape. Couple of runners just falling away at the trailing end of that leading pack already. Slightly different looking pack from recent years due to travel restrictions, of course. No foreign elites could attend today, so a fully domestic field running. Very different from the last decade, with the continuing rivalry between Kenya and Ethiopia. Not just here in Xiamen, but everywhere. Ethiopian runners dominated the Xiamen Marathon over the last 10 years. The likes of Jana Debele, Birhan Tesfaye, Dina Armino, Couldn't make it this year, but in another first for the Xiamen Marathon, it's actually co-organized a marathon in Italy just for those elites running at the exact time as this one. Really amazing story, and it really shows how much the Xiamen Marathon is thinking about those runners that couldn't make it. And that second Xiamen Marathon will also be able to produce Olympic qualification results as well. So very useful to have. That's Zhao Zhuhua heading up the second part of that leading pack, just trailing behind the top three. Personal best 2:23.51 set 2 years ago at the Fujian Marathon. Let's have a look at the course today, very much sticking to the famed route of the past 18 years. Starts at the conference center, opening couple of kilometers, take the runners onto the East Island Ring Boulevard and Huandao Road. They follow heading east on the coast, past some of Xiamen's most famous attractions, Jinming Temple, the Fujian and Baishi fortresses, the famous Xiamen University, before arriving there at the Yangwu Bridge at 13 kilometers. They follow that all the way past Gulanyu Island, around 20 kilometers, turn inland at Lujiang Avenue, the turning point there just ahead of the Zhongshan Hospital. Then the runners loop back and follow the coast west this time, once more running on the Yangwu Bridge, past the Little Egret Art Center on Huandao South Road now, heading west on that coastal road, getting to the final 10 kilometers. It's up past the world-renowned marathon sculptures, past the conference center this time, a quick loop of about 5 kilometers to take you back to the finish line at the Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center. Back with the leaders now, just starting their run on that ring road. Great shot there to highlight the elevation and gradients of the course. Very gentle but telling, and you really do feel them too. Will we see any records broken today? Well, in honesty, probably not, as this is still one of the very first road races to be held in the world, and so a lot of these runners will still be fighting to get back into any kind of peak shape. It takes so much to keep a long distance runner in terms of training, nutrition and race experience, and many of these contenders will still be sharpening up for sure. But if they did, then the records are well known, of course. World records very unlikely, so no 2:01 or 2:03, but the fastest domestic time by a Chinese athlete, well, that is a 2:08 run in Beijing by Ren Longyun. The course record here set by Moses Mossop in 2015, that 2:06, and that still rules today. I think considering these circumstances, any run under 2:18, 2:20 for men will be really good. And for the women, always looking for a sub 2:30. Those for the full 42.19, 5 kilometer distance only. Right now, though, it looks like we have two contenders who are still thinking of anything like that. Yang Dinghong and Ren Guangyu breaking away from the pack, as we can see, heading downhill, matching each other stride for stride as we approach the 3 kilometer mark. We can't forget there were a handful of races run over the past 12 months, and they actually spawned some great results. Nanjing in November 2020, that set some fast times. Shanghai with 9,000 runners, won by Jia Erenjia and Li Zhishuan, the men's and women's respectively. Jia with a 2:12.44 and Li with a 2:26.39. Hangzhou, which was won by Suko Xiang and Wang Min in men's and women's, solid times there as well. Su with a 2:12, Wang Min with a 2:38. Great shot from the helicopter of the coastal road. Now approaching the 5 kilometer mark for the front two. Important marker along the way. These markers also will host the water, medical and refreshments. Looks like it might be a dry and hot race, as we said, so a hydration strategy is called for. And some runners might hydrate a little more today. Quick look back at some of the runners in the main pack. Some distance back from the front two already, but look at that, all smiles on their faces. Running enthusiasts that are still fully relishing being back outdoors running at one of the biggest runs in China here in Xiamen. And ahead of them, we look down from the heli once again at the gorgeous coastal road. The lead is now passing that 5 kilometer refreshment station. Looks like both opting to forge on ahead right now. Nothing between these front two yet, but it looks like Yang Dinghong is slightly edging ahead. Very consistent and reliable runner is Yang Dinghong from Yunnan. You always see him in or around the leading packs at a number of marathons. He has a great training regime that allows him to run in a good few marathons every year, and he seems to have kept it up well. And based on the start here, followed closely, the second now by Ren Guangyu, also very solid on the national circuit here in China, his personal best. Nanjing in 2020 at 2:15.19. So far, both these runners on good general pace. And you can see now the bulk of the three waves are on the road and starting to fill up that East Island Ring Road. The starting waves were determined by personal best, so wave 1 was corralled with people who have run a 3:14 to 3:28. Wave 2 was 3:28 to 4 hours, and wave 3 was 4 and above. Each wave roughly 10 minutes apart. Nice orderly release of runners onto the course, and only slightly different this year from past editions, which used to have 5 waves, but obviously with a lot more participants. Last year 35,000 runners took part. In previous years that number's just over 70,000 as well. So this year 3 waves just right. That is the Pacific Business logo, well-known spot on this coastal stretch. Xiamen well known for its business and trade history, and that key logo symbolizes that on this junction here on Huanda Road. Another good angle from the heli, and you can just see the arc of runners now stretching off into the distance. Very wide roads here in Xiamen, some 40 meters across, and a good surface, well maintained. Always important to have a good surface, and when it is this wide, you can also accommodate huge numbers of runners safely and easily. And spectators, of course, limited spectators this year in accordance with regulations. Factors, volunteers and safety marshals allowed on course. And what that translates to, as you can see, peace of mind for the runners, just taking care of their own performance. For this year's edition, a lot more preparation needed, of course. Just about 30 minutes gone now, and the sun's starting to rise on the course. That's going to mean a lot more heat to contend with very quickly. Checking back in with the leaders, and it's still Yang Dinghong keeping that tiny bit of daylight between himself and Ren Guangyu chasing him. Both runners approaching the 10-kilometer mark and still keeping a good pace of roughly 3 minutes per kilometer, both showing good form. Yang Dinghong has that unique running style which is very, very efficient. And there's the morning sun now hitting the bulk of the runners at the 30-minute mark. You can see a few less smiles now, as you really do feel it. The skin starts heating up quickly. All these runners need to keep their minds on hydration and the refreshment stops. Once again, the Xiamen Marathon is one of the first road races to be recovered, rescheduled and rerun. So a lot of these runners taking part today, whether professional or amateur, as they just head past the Zhenchuan village, will be looking to sharpen up their form. And talking of sharp form, this is the current leader in the women's marathon. That's Zhao Anjing in the number 72 bib. No problems for her so far, it would seem, and I'm sure she'll be looking to get close to or beat her personal best of 2:33.55 set at the Shanghai Marathon last year. One of the handful of marathons run that year. She pulled out her personal best at it, meaning that she really has been maintaining her fitness and form well, and that's being shown again right here with her at the top of the pack for the women. She's got a few runners around her, which can help sometimes as you can gauge pace a little better with others around you. And looking at those numbers, approaching 10 kilometers, Zhao looking solid with just under a quarter distance behind her. So the leader's now nearing the 13-kilometer mark, and that means they're right on the doorstep of one of the most famous universities in China and the region. Xiamen University, this year celebrating its 100th anniversary of academic and sporting excellence. This will also serve as the finish point for one of the support runs today, in conjunction with that anniversary, the 13.8 Xiamen University Celebration Run. Just that run, the Kids Run and the Green Run hosted today, in addition to the men's and women's full marathons. What a beautiful campus, home to thousands of students, and we get a great view of it from the helicopter today. And as we check back in with the men's leaders, there has been a massive drop-off by Ren Guangyu. You can just see him at the top of your screen there. Big news there with the outright lead for Yang Dinghong now. Definitely going to keep an eye on that as we take a look at some of the runners hoping to break 3:15 today. All enjoying the day out, keeping their spirits up. And again, look at those fantastic scenes that have one simple message. Marathon running is coming back in 2021. Good few recovered races back on the calendar coming up later this year. Lanzhou, Wuhan, and Great Wall Marathon, all with new dates set for the coming months. So do check your marathon calendars for the latest info. All now will follow the great benchmark set today by the 2021 Xiamen Marathon. Now back with Yang Dinghong running solo after Ren Guangyu, who's running with him stride for stride from the start, has fallen away. Maybe a result of a lack of race fitness, hopefully not a strain or pull-up, but definitely no major increase in pace from our new outright leader Yang Dinghong, who now has clear space and daylight all around him, still looking very strong at 16 kilometers. This is where both the men's and women's marathons are at just under the 1 hour mark. Yang Dinghong roughly 2 kilometers ahead of Zhao Anjing, just in the middle of that pack on the right. Yang at 16 kilometers and Zhao at 14. So steady pace being shown by both, and you would have to say at this point both with a strong grip on their leads at the moment and looking very good as they approach the midway mark. Zhao with the benefit of 5 runners around her. We'll check on Yang's progress in a bit. Right now, let's take a look at Zhao Anjing, aiming for another good result after her personal best last year, a personal best that makes her the second fastest lady taking part in this year's edition. Just 40 seconds slower than Yang Hua, who put in a 2:33.13 at the China Marathon Elite race, but no Yang Hua so far today, so a good platform for Zhao to shine again. This means she's showing some consistent form, looking a tiny bit more labored at 14.5 kilometers, but that's okay. More happy faces here from the Xiamen faithful, well into their runs now. It looks like they're going to enjoy every bit of the course as they go. Marathon Day, always a fun family day out every year, and this year that spirit still going strong. Back to the course, and this is the Yanwu Bridge, a great part of the circuit every year. Not only a good running surface, but this is also where the inclines and declines kick in, with significant gradient increases as you run on it. Zhao Anjing, leader in the women's race, already passed that bridge once now. She's at 15 kilometers, which puts her heading into Lujiang Avenue, which is the right turn inland, and heads up to the turning point just ahead of Zhongshan Hospital. Still with the pack of male runners around her and still looking like she's breathing a bit heavy, but again, her running style seems to be working for her. Easy movement, still keeping a constant pace. 26 years old now, senior at North China Electric Power University. But we've seen a lot from Zhao in the last 3 years in different disciplines too. Competed in 5,000 and 10,000 meters and half marathon, running a 1:22.29 in Changzhou in 2018. Some distance ahead of the bulk of the runners, who by the looks of it are now well onto the Yanwu Bridge and all still chasing the light. That is the term for this year, as it is also the title of the official theme song for this year's marathon. And we all hope their runs continue in the good spirits that we are seeing. It is starting to get a little hot out there on course. There have been some added facilities this year to combat what was expected to be a much hotter race. 8 sprinkling points, 4 mist cannon trucks along the race course provided today. And it's those factors, sun, hydration, body temperature, which will be front and center in Zhao Anjing's mind. But so far doing a steady job and good enough. There's still a long way to go at this point, so it's imperative she stays focused. You still get the feeling that she looks like she might be laboring a little, but then a moment later she fires back into a springy step. And look at that, a nice wave to the moto next to her, definitely enjoying herself still, and that's good to see. No current problems affecting her, and if no problems, then I think she will be more than happy to just stick with this pack of runners around her. The whole pack shifting at a decent rate, so no need to break away at all at this point. The big right turn on Lujiang Avenue is just ahead, and then it'll be 2 kilometers inland to the turning point for the women's leader. And while she does that, the helicopter has a great view for us of Bailuzhou Park, another very famous attraction here in Xiamen, built just before the turn of the millennium and focused around the 13-meter statue of the goddess Bailu. It's a huge park covering almost 60,000 square meters. Great place to visit, lots of things to do, and here's some beautiful shots of it. A very sunny day in Xiamen. And this is an important part of the race for our race leader, Yang Dinghong. Still under no threat whatsoever in terms of competition, but as you can see now approaching the turning point. Still running by himself, but based on this time, keeping a good idea of his pace in his mind, and very importantly, in his body mechanics too. He makes the turn and now starts the second half of the marathon for him, which will see him heading back to the coast and then heading west. Still looking as solid as always. And as we well know, solid runners get great times. His personal best here set in 2020 was a 2:13.50. This is the 4th time he's running in the Xiamen Marathon, so I'm sure he'll be very happy to get a time close to that today. And of course, he'll be very happy if he can keep this up and win as well. His main challenge today would seem is not just a physical toil, but also having to steel his mind to running in isolation for what would be well over half this race now that Ren Guanyu's assault on his lead is a distant memory. Ren kept pace well, but sadly dropped off before 15 kilometers. Still plenty of runners out on course, as you can see, but now quite a distance behind the leaders. You could say that if your aim was to have fun and smile, then you've already won. Certainly looks the case for these runners, still on the Yanwu Bridge heading east, having a great day, and we hope it continues for them. And we're back with Yang Dinghong resolutely striding forward and showing now signs of decreasing pace as he closes in on 20 kilometers. He's definitely one of those runners that sees his times as just as valuable as any prize money. The 33-year-old heading for both at the moment. Prize money here in Xiamen based on your finish position and your time. Bonuses for sub 2:14 if you break the course records. Kenyan Moses Mossop with a 2:06, and Mari Debaba, his fellow Kenyan, in the women's with 2:19.52. The Chinese national record for Xiamen is from Deng Haiyang in 2008 with a 2:10.43. And for the women, Zhang Yingying from 2008 is at 2:22. Maybe some of those records will fall someday. Not looking that likely today based on the splits. But this race really is about getting some good running down as a benchmark for 2021 and beyond. And that's exactly what this man is doing right here. One great thing about Yang Dinghong and his unique running style is that he's very difficult to read for signs of fatigue. He's very good at keeping that peak running style and form at a constant level, and of course highly experienced over the distance. Maybe his arm swinging a little further from his body now, but that's only noticeable difference. His face is stoic, his pace is consistent, and if you're a fan of long distance running in Asia and China, you're already very familiar with the way he approaches each marathon and how he executes them, and of course the results and times that have been created from that application every time. Every bit the performer is shining here today. Heading back to the waterline now, and soon we will be passing Gulangyu Island, the Isle of Pianos as it is known here, another famous attraction of Xiamen City and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Very close, as you can see. A quick 8-minute ferry from the mainland to get there. Stunning place. Another great shot from the helicopter. One of the many sites that await the runners who take part in the Xiamen Marathon every year. Every January, it has delivered the first medal of marathon racing around the world, awarded right here. So it's internationally known and has almost become a golden name card for Xiamen in the Asian marathon community. Quick wave from another batch of smiling runners. It looks like they're just making the move inland, heading to the turning point. Time to check in with our leader again, Yang Dinghong, now at 22.6 kilometers, running on relatively flat road, which he'll be happy for. Some inclines coming his way in about 2 to 3 kilometers, but right now clearly leading as he's been for most of this race. Even with the limitations on numbers this year, it's still a very strong field. 67 athletes, 54 of which that have run a 2:35, 13 women with a 2:50. You can now see how well both marathons are faring. Still roughly 2 kilometers between the men and the women, which in itself is great evidence of the consistency of pace that both are showing. That gap has hardly changed from the early part of the race. No problem so far for both Yang Dinghong and Zhao Anjing, both clear the 20-kilometer mark. Staying with the pack of around 11 runners, with our women's race leader just in the center here in the orange and blue. Good move by Zhao there to not be in the center of the pack. She's moved to an area where she can at least see ahead unimpeded and still just feeding off the good pace of the whole pack of runners. So no need for her to change her strategy in any way at all. Looks like she's moving freely now, and her breathing may be slightly improved actually from when we've checked in with her earlier. Very close to the 22-kilometer mark, which she'll be sweeping left after that to Lijiang Avenue to get her and the supporting pack back onto the coastal road. And just behind her, you can see the constant flow of traffic now at the turning point by Zhongshan Hospital, and you can see the varied running styles used by the other 12,000 runners here today. Some from running clubs in the city and around China, some Xiamen residents, but all regulars to the city, and each have helped create the nickname Marathon City, which is what Xiamen has been labeled over the last decade or more. Now Yang Dinghong approaching that tricky part of Yanwu Bridge. Good reminder for us watching as to the gradients in this part of the course. You can just see off to the right the undulations of the course, mainly the inclines are found on the Yanwu Bridge. Hubin Road and some parts of the East Ring Boulevard between 5 kilometers and 15 kilometers, and then the biggest increases between 28 kilometers and 34. And that's the real killer, as you can imagine. The uphill sections put all the pressure on your heart and lungs, and the downhills target the joints and especially ankles and knees. So something that he's now starting to face, and you can see how the bridge itself elevates right here. Always a challenge to conquer it every kilometer here in Xiamen, and while he manages the extra effort on his side of the road, on the other side just a constant stream of runners. Helicopter now making another sweep back to the runners. En route, that is the Shanghai Trail, good example of one of the green areas that are part of the city. Good escape from the city and a touch of nature, which is a common theme in the architecture around this southern Chinese port. Lovely place, and what a lovely day today to enjoy it too. Yang Dinghong now closing in on the 30-kilometer mark, running slightly uphill and into the sunlight, and at this point he's just passing the Xiamen University campus again, this time on his left on the other side of the road. He knows he's still on pace and just needs to power through these incline sections as best as he can, and that was the first break in his running style that we've actually seen today. Just a stretch of the arms, I think. Lost his arm swing for a second, but I think it was just to reset. He's back in his rhythm again now by the looks of it, and looks a bit relieved that he's now on a downhill slope. Well done for managing that gradient. Looking very composed at this point. Absolutely no sign of a chasing pack, and it's been that way for a while now. He might be running by himself, but that's not the case for the rest of the runners running through one of the refreshment and medical stations. Being an elite platinum road race now, the organization is of the highest quality in all areas, and in this case that means 1,894 social volunteers and 33 runner groups dispatched to 17 supply points to offer services to the runners. 2,025 university volunteers also engaged in supply handling, order maintenance and field guidance. 360 stretchers and 836 volunteers. So every area manned and covered as always, and putting the runners front and center in priority. Back at Yanwu Bridge now, and a good shot here to show the traffic level on both sides. Heading east to the turning point, a good stream of runners, and currently heading west, that is Zhao Anjing, still leading the women's marathon at 25 kilometers. But with less of a surrounding pack around her now. Used to be 11 strong, but now down to around 4. This quartet around her still helping her to hold on to that great pace. Two different situations right now in the men's and women's races. The men's, it's all about Yang Dinghong conquering his mental state in isolation, while Zhao Anjing has a good group of pacers to base herself off. Both those still uncontested in their leads, and you'd have to say at this point, based on how solid both have looked and how easily they've seen off any challenges, they should be, if all goes well, taking their respective crowds today, and obviously to see if they can notch up a new personal best or course record along with the win. Zhao now facing the inclines at 25 kilometers. We saw how they affected Yang Dinghong a couple of kilometers ahead of her, so we will be keeping an eye on whether she struggles with them in any way. And you can see at this close angle her good running style, the straightness of the running posture, the arms quite close to the body, nice easy swing, keeping that airway open with the chin up. It's so important to do that, as if you run looking down, you are curtailing the amount of oxygen that you're taking in, and you need to keep that oxygen coming in to maintain your energy output and keep those feet moving. Well, we were wondering how she would deal with the incline, and look at that. For the first time she seems to lose the pack a little, and that's what we were talking about. Having those runners around her can serve as a visual marker sometimes. Now back with Yang Dinghong past the 1.5 hour mark, heading downhill now in bright sun, still running smoothly and should be on course for a second consecutive best time this year, following last year's best result for him, which was also one of the fastest for any Chinese runner over the past decade. That was a 2:13.51 based on his current pace. If he can keep it up, maybe push a little from 35 kilometers onwards, and he could do very well. That's 1.5 hour mark at the turning point, and the runners still flowing through nicely. They've waited many months to run here in Xiamen. Again, this rescheduled date like so many sports events around the world, due to the pandemic situation, even the biggest marathons needed to be shifted. So for this year at least, we can say these runners and the greater marathon community have been truly awaiting this race, and everyone having to deal with that bright sunlight now. Very sunny, as you can see. Great for seeing the Shimao Towers, but different situation for the runners on the road and for our current men's leader. He's moved to the center of the road for this latest uphill stretch, possibly to help maintain his balance as he leans into the incline. Has to be done correctly as the pressure shifts in your feet, and his feet have been warmed up with some 30 kilometers already today. Any tiny change of pressure has to be managed, and managed well, and he looks like he's doing that right now. Just coming up to the 30 kilometer mark, and as he passes that, timing chips placed at regular intervals. Of course, that looks like the leading runners are approaching the Hulishan Fortress on the headland, the historical defensive fort built in the Qing dynasty. That's still a way for these runners who look to be in the city center, maybe heading back to the coast. Nice shady area there on the sunny day. Sure, they will be appreciating the slightly cooler stretch of road. Great to see everyone still in good spirits, no matter where they are on the course right now. Meanwhile, Ding Hong just about to hit 31 kilometers. Looks like a slight downhill now, so he might change his running style a tiny bit. Nice view from the following helicopter as to the actual road he's on at the moment, just in from the water, now running all by himself with no traffic or runners on his side or the other side of the road. This one of the last uphill stretches for him. In fact, this stretch from 30 to 36 kilometers is actually one of the highest elevations on the course, and he's just entering that zone now, passing the 31 kilometer mark. So he's at the tip of the headland around the famous Jinming Temple. We're now making his way northeast. 3 more landmarks: Yifengjai, the Sifit logo monument, Golden Key we saw earlier, and of course Xiamen's 99 marathon sculptures. So far dealing with the gradients the same way he's dealt with everything else in the race: cool, calm, and collected. And a quick check-in with the army of runners, still making good progress, some 12 kilometers back from him. That looks like the 415 club, so they would have been corralled in wave 3 of the starting protocols for today. Once again, 2 corrals in each of 3 waves based on your personal best. Personal bests are what it's all about, and for Yang Dinghong, who looks like he's just about set to pass the Jinming Temple, the solid pace he has been maintaining for 1 hour and 42 minutes now, he might be able to beat his own personal best. Certainly looks like he's on target to be close, or close enough, to 2:14. That would be huge news, as you would imagine. Xiamen Marathon was always delivering first in every year of the 18 previous editions, whether it was being the first marathon medal on offer, or some of the eco and environmental initiatives, or just in terms of fast times. The conditions and preparation here are second to none, and sometimes all of that comes together and can deliver a very fast time. This year's race was already delivering a different set of history-making first. Maybe it's the second Xiamen Marathon, especially organized in Italy for the elites, or the fact it's the biggest road race to be held in over a year. 2021 has brought its own challenges of marathon running, and the Xiamen Marathon has again risen above all of them and produced this wonderful running platform for everyone involved. Only a handful of races have been recovered on the calendar so far, as I said, nowhere near the total of some 300 races that we've seen in previous years, but Lanzhou, Wuhan in October all set up, and this very much the biggest number of runners so far. Shanghai and Hangzhou with 9,000 and 8,000 runners respectively, all with full safety protocols as standard. But here today, 12,000 runners out of 70,000 applicants, and those alone will be enough to create a headline, but one that Yang Dinghong and Zhao Anjing will be hoping to add to with a couple of really fast times. We'll check in with Zhao Anjing in just a bit. Right now though, Yang Dinghong is right in the middle of the incline section. Looks to be on a downhill part right now. This 30 to 36 kilometer stretch made of 2 clear hills. Of course, now literally hugging the coastline, as you can see. This will be a nice boost for the runners, that stretch. one of the most common pieces of feedback that has come from runners who have run in Xiamen is that the location and surroundings are absolutely perfect for running. A lot of epic views around these big, wide roads. Views that will be soon seen again by the large amount of runners that are currently running in the city. And that's a good reminder of how sunny it is right now on course. Just heading into mid-morning, but you can already see the shadows on the track. Very different conditions this year from the last staging of the Xiamen Marathon. Not so much in temperature, only a couple of degrees warmer, but in humidity, 84% last year compared to 40% today. So relatively dry air to contend with. All of these changes due, of course, to a different time of year. The race usually at the start of the year in the cooler months, but now a bit later on, and the climate just that bit warmer. There's the gorgeous Yifengzhai beach located along the Huandao Road. 10,000 square meters of water sports area, amusement parks, food courts, and beach. Great place to be on a sunny day like this. And just approaching that wonderful stretch of beach, Yang Dinghong still powering away at the front of the men's field. Just cleared 33 kilometers, and look at those split times, pretty much on the money for the first 15, running them in roughly 3 minutes per kilometer, and strong enough for 20 and 25 kilometers. Lost a bit of ground, but still well on course for a good finish here today, which means about another kilometer or two off the inclines, and he should be on relatively flat road for the final push. It's like he's just coming through the timing point and beverage station there. That serves both sides of the road. 33 kilometer mark on this side, 5 kilometers on the other side. Another good view there of the gentle inclines he's been facing for the last 4 kilometers. You can only really see them on the flat angles. Very uniform climbs and descents, and just enough bite in them to put pressure on the joints. A lot more challenging than you would think, especially at this middle to late stage for any runner. And he's been just very slightly changing his running style to accommodate them. Back with our women's race leader, who much like Yang Dinghong has been in control of her run from very early on. Just currently obscured by the camera truck tracking her, but that is Zhao Anjing in the orange and blue, now running with just 2 runners around her. So around 9 of the pack that was surrounding her have now fallen away to pace. Actually looks like she's settled into an even easier rhythm, and based on those splits, still looking pretty good. Good constant pace through the first 15, averaging between 3 to 4 minutes per kilometer, and that is race pace. That's not really the primary aim for the rest of the runners here today. Most of them have just come out for the fun of running in all distances, and running and fitness very much embraced in China, and you hardly ever see a marathon here that doesn't have a huge turnout. Even with the guidelines and protocols today, we've still seen a really good participation rate for today's Elite Platinum Road Race. The first staging of the Xiamen Marathon under that only recently introduced Premier Level Road Race. Very proud moment indeed. It was a gold race from 2007, and seeing as that only started in 2003, that is a big achievement and a quick progression through the labels. And we're back with Yang Dinghong now at 34.4 kilometers, which means he should be passing Yifengzhai Beach on this right, and I think you can just see it glimpsing through the trees there. Next up for him in terms of landmarks will be the 99 Marathon statues of Xiamen, but more importantly for him, he knows he's about 1 kilometer away from relatively flat road. He knows this is a make or break part of the course, and with no paces around him, it's really up to him to make the decisions. That's where his rivals are at the moment. He's been so far ahead of them that we have hardly seen them. Zhang Zhenlong and Nianzhe are some 2 minutes back, having quite the battle it would seem, and the next 2 runners are further 3 minutes back in 4th and 5th currently. So perhaps still some twists in the tail in terms of who finishes in runner-up spot and rounding out the top 5, but all from 2nd to 5th definitely looking unlikely that they will be able to catch this man, our outright leader, Yang Dinghong, who is on his way to a memorable finish in this his 4th running of the marathon. Hydration definitely playing a part here in the latter stages of his race. Remember that a marathon runner loses almost a liter of sweat an hour. And looking at his split times again, this time with 30 kilometer added, it's been solid stuff from the 33-year-old from Yunnan. Didn't quite manage the negative split he was looking for, and has added some time in the second half of the marathon. It's been more than enough. A great start to his 2021. Looking back at some of the main body of runners again, that looks like Huban South Road, close to the turning point. All of them looking like they're still going strong, and you can see how the sun is not just up, but getting more intense and now coming in from a far more vertical angle. These guys will definitely be feeling that heat when they finish and in their last stretches, as it should be late mid-morning for the 3-hour and 4-hour finishes. For now though, all moving very well, really savoring the opportunity to run in Xiamen. Now back to the race leader, and Yang Dinghong is now in the final few kilometers. He's just passed 38 kilometers, as you can see, and the 2-hour mark. Basically, that's the world record right there, 2:01, to give you some idea of how fast a time it is. That's the status of his chasers, and there are still 2 minutes. They are still 2 minutes more or back. Looks like Nyanja T has won the mini battle for second place right now, and Zhang Zhenglong has fallen back around a minute. But both of them still a good 2 minutes ahead of any other runner. So Dinghong has maintained his pace and lead well, still showing no signs of concern. Yes, his gait and stride length a bit more drawn out maybe, but the engine itself, the VO2 max endurance engine that is constantly converting oxygen into usable muscle energy, still firing at full capacity, and his muscles themselves have been managed well enough to take on that energy and transfer it into power. It's an amazing process, and if your training and diet and nutrition is in good nick, then you're going to be in good shape. Closing in on the Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center now, and that's a great shot of it from the helicopter. You can just see the beautiful Golden Rooster statue at the front there. That was built for the Golden Rooster Film Festival. It's one of the huge events that have been staged here at this state-of-the-art multi-purpose facility. What a great place. And that is the final landmark for all runners here in Xiamen, and the most important one of all right now, the race leader Yang Dinghong on Fujian Road, the important link road between the conference center and the coastal ring road. Very close to the end for him now. He's been consistent, but at 2:12 here it means a good finish awaits for sure, but not going to beat his personal best. Based on his splits, it looks like he may have lost some time between 15 and 25 kilometers. That could be down to simply a lack of running time recently, races that could be run, and maybe physical conditioning, as it has been harder to maintain peak shape over the past year for many athletes. But whatever it is, it happens, and maybe it is that time lost that will make the difference to his finish, but it will be a good finish time still, should make it in the 2:15s. Not far now at all, just about to hit the final sweeping chicane, and there are his official split times, including at 35 kilometers. You just saw it around 25 kilometers onwards, pace starting to erode gradually. Let's not forget, he's been running in isolation for well over an hour, but even with that gradual erosion of his overall pace, he still managed to outstrip all the contenders. There was Ren Guan Yu in the early part of the race, up to 10 kilometers, and then even though he couldn't see them visually, there was Zhang Zhenglong, Nyanja T battling it out themselves just about 6 kilometers behind him. It's all about pace on the day, and he's delivered it whenever he needed it. Into the final stretch, and with his arms raised, Yang Dinghong is sure of his win. He crosses the line and takes top spot in the 2021 C&D Xiamen Marathon with a 2:15.25. Great time for him, and look at how strong he feels at the end. Absolutely no problems for him at all today. So our men's winner across the line, and all eyes turn to the course for more results. Here's some of the rest of the runners at the turning point on Huban Road, still streaming through at a good rate. Very smooth run for all in all aspects today. And back at the start finish line in second place in the men's competition, roughly 3 minutes behind Yang Dinghong, and that is Nyanja RT, who's won through in the battle with Zhang Zhenglong. She'll be coming in third. They were fighting all the way up to about 34 kilometers for second spot. And he's just come through in a 2:17, 2:23. That is a personal best for him. I did say Xiamen was a great place to set records and PBs, and he's just got one. So top two in the men's competition already on the board, and one more place on the podium to be filled. And as predicted, the other half of that battle for second spot kept his pace and is coming in third. Zhang Zhenglong, the winner of the 2018 Shenzhen Marathon, crosses the line in 2:19.44. That's also the new PB for him. beating his 2:20.35 from Shenzhen. So that is the top 3 men in now, all under 2:20, which is a good standard in any case. And now it's all about who will take the women's competition. Still out on track, but they have been hot on the heels of the men all day. They're roughly 2 kilometers behind them, and as we can see, still a lot of race to run for the other runners making their way around the course. Now this is Chen Wei-fen, who has been holding on to second spot on the course for quite a while now. Some distance between Zhao and Jing, but in a space of her own. No stranger to running in limited conditions, as she did run in the Shanghai Marathon last year and clocked her personal best of 2:37.41, as we saw there. Mother of 2, about to celebrate her 36th birthday. It looks like she might be giving herself a second place medal as her present. And the reason that won't be a first place medal is due to the efforts and running of Zhao Anjing, who has had runners around her throughout the race, at times running within a pack of up to 11. As you can see, that is cut down to 3 others who are showing the pace she needs, and she is stuck by this group to great effect, all of them closing in on 39 kilometers and still looking very strong. Just under 3 kilometers left. In the heli, we can see all 4 now entering the final section of the course, this extra turning point introduced a few years back and is very effective. It's another 2 kilometers past the Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center. Then it loops back between the Zhangshan Yacht Club and the Olympic Museum. Quite flat, but a good finishing combination of corners to the marathon. It's been widely praised by former runners. 2:23 on the clock at this point. So it looks like from here, if she keeps this pace up within the group, she could be aiming for a 2:34 to 2:36. A very nice time indeed to get on the first big race of the year, if she can pull it off. Moving to the middle of the pack now for the turn, and all of them closing in on it now. Turns are deceptive when you've been running for over 2 hours, and the last thing you want is to affect an ankle or hip by taking the turn too sharply with tender muscles, and round they go. So it's into the final stretch for our women's marathon leader. And still in second spot, Chen Wei-fen making good time as she checks her watch. That is her personal best, as we said, 2:37 in Shanghai a few months back. Will she be the next top 3 finisher to break their personal best? We've already seen 2 and 3 in the men's competition break theirs. Zhao Anjing possibly, but we will find out very soon. And she's now about to enter the final 3 kilometers of this race, moving to the center of her flanking pack, ready for the final push. And that's how close Chen Wei-fen is to Zhao. Not enough time to close the distance for Chen. She makes a turn and also enters the final stretch. Zhao now approaching the medical refreshment and timing zone at 40 kilometers. Her flanking pack has spread out. No real need for group pace in these last couple of kilometers. Each will now focus on making it to the line. Quick check of the watch from Zhao, and I think she'll know from cutting into her personal best might be a tough ask from here. But much like Yang Dinghong, our men's winner, still a good time on the cards to kick off the year. Yang with a 2:15 the men's race earlier, some 2 minutes off his PB. That is Chen Wei-fen in second, and as you can see clearly, a case of close, nowhere near close enough to make a challenge on this ladies' lead. For Zhao, she's sure to study her splits from today, whether she bags a personal best or not. It's those split times and how you performed over the entire 42 kilometers that is really valuable data for any professional runner. Checking in with the main body of runners again here. That was the second leg of the Yanwu Bridge, it looks like. Some looking a little bit wobbly with those inclines. A steady flow of runners at the turning point at Hubin Road. Wonderful scenes to see for the marathon community watching from around the world. It's been a great morning of top class running here in southern China. Remember, there was a lot of nerves and anticipation being the first big road race of 2021, but all of these guys look like they've prepared well for it. Back with our women's marathon leader, 26-year-old Zhao Anjing, and her personal best of 2:33 in Shanghai last November. She was one of the 9,000 runners that took part in that race, and looking at her time here, looking like she might actually miss that, even though she does look, she has visibly picked up the pace a little. That's a great shot from the heli of the final turning point of the Zhangshan Yacht Club just in the left of your screen, and I'm sure as we pan down we'll be looking at the sole figure of Chen Wei-fen. She should be in that area right now. Yes, I can see the white baseball cap or visor that she's wearing. It's still making very good time and keeping a steady running style and rhythm. Sometimes it is so difficult to maintain that running posture in these latter stages of the race as all of your muscles start firing that little bit slower. And as you can see right at the top of your screen, the distance between first and second, you just saw her there. Zhao Jing running in the orange visor and Chen with her accompanying moto just too far away to attack. But credit for keeping that pace and chasing someone as fast as Zhao. This is the 40-kilometer refreshment and medical station. Fantastic job done by all the volunteers and helpers here today. All staff and volunteers in close contact with runners, passed nucleic acid tests before the race in line with protocols. And once all the health boxes were ticked, they got to work and set up a race, which they did. And they managed it very, very well so far. A welcome sight for Zhao and Jing, I'm sure. The Xiamen International Conference and Exhibition Center, well known for many years for not just the events that have been staged here, but for being the start and finish location for the marathon every year. And you can see how close Zhao now is to that finish line. Now coming up to the chicane that leads to the finish straight. Absolutely no signs of fatigue, very much like Yang Dinghong. The women's marathon today has evolved in the same manner, and that looks like the victory ceremony for the men's marathon. Top 3 runners now cooled down and refreshed after their finish and on stage to collect their spoils. More VIPs that are on hand. They should receive a trophy, a medal, a check, and a floral bouquet as well. So they just started with proceedings. We can keep our eyes on Zhao Jing on the right of your screen for a minute. She's now just a few hundred meters away from her own victory ceremony in a way. Now flat road she's running on, the inclines and gradients stopped around the 36-kilometer mark, so she might be feeling a little more confident and opening up her stride a bit now so close to the finish. She did look like she was breathing a little hard at around the 10-kilometer mark, but in a classic example of second wind, she looks far more at ease now, arms and legs moving in a very slick motion, so she looks like she has not picked up any niggling strains. I can see the trophies are now getting to the hands of our top 3. Zhang Jinglong in 3rd spot, Yan Jia Ti gets his 2nd place, and right at the top, Yang Dinghong gets his trophy. Well done, the men's field today. Great race run by all 3. So Zhao Jing closes in on the finish line. She really has kept herself in peak shape for today's race. Even at 41 kilometers, she still has a good spring in her step, solid upright posture, and a great arm pivot as well. She's proved to be a very economical runner and has kept her hydration up and looks comfortable. So her hydration strategy today has been spot on. All round great performance. Yes, it's important to deliver on the day as she has, but it is just as important to maintain and increase your speed over the course of the season, and that is the metric that needs to be restarted almost into the 1-year hiatus from taking part in runs and races as frequently as she is used to. Onto the final straight now, and she breaks off. Didn't break her personal best today, that's how it looks, that's past, but look how close she came. She'll definitely take away some great split times. And finally, it looks like she's breaking a smile. She did look over her shoulder for the first time that we've seen, just as she took the final corner, but she's absolutely nobody in her path. Now noses in the bag, one last push as she passes the 100-meter mark. There's the finish line, and with waves and smiles, she gets closer and closer. She crosses the line in 2:35.30, 2 minutes behind her personal best. But the only time that doesn't matter to a runner is when you've won the race anyway. Perfect run from Zhao today. She tops the list and takes first place in her first ever Xiamen Marathon. We won't have to wait long for second spot, and there she is, Chen Weifeng coming in to take second, just about half a minute behind Zhao. She looks like she's been pushed to the limit, a lot of strain showing on her face, and a bit loose in her running style, but she's made it, and she will be breaking her personal best by almost a minute. She crosses the line. Great effort from Chen, looking a bit fatigued as she's greeted, but she can be proud of what she's accomplished today. So the top 2 already with their podium places booked, but who will be joining them? And that is the answer to that. Li Hua just hit the 100-meter mark and is about to take 3rd spot. Her personal best is a 2:36.57, achieved at Nanjing last year. She's about 3 minutes off that today, but still a strong run from her on a very, or relatively, hot day. Just a few more steps now to concentrate on. Looking good. And she crosses the line to take third. Looking like she too has been pushed to the limit. Well done to all of our finishers today. And so to the women's victory ceremony. All three ladies on stage already and soon to be joined by our VIPs on hand from the Chinese Athletics Association, the local organizing committee and Xiamen City to be given their awards, which should follow exactly as we saw for the men's ceremony. So it should be a winner's medal and trophy, a check and floral boutique. Before that, a quick wave from each of the ladies to the press. As you know, spectators essentially just volunteers, organizing staff, marshals, medical staff and security, and by no means all of them, as plenty are still manning the race for the other runners. And now just waiting for the first of those presentations. And it looks like it is starting right now. And that is the winners' medals. So third place winners' medal to Niu Lihua. Kept the best pace she could. And took third spot. Second place to Chen Wei-Fen. She's be very happy with that. Looking far more relaxed and cooled down now. And first place medal to Zhao Anjing, who looks to be very happy with that medal. That was a well-deserved win for her in her first ever running of the Xiamen Marathon. Another quick photo call for the press there. And now the second presentation. And this looks like it's going to be the trophies. Again, first to third place Niu. Then to second place Chen. And the first place trophy to Zhao. Be quite tall, has to really reach down for that. Next, it should be the floral garlands for all three ladies in that traditional sporting reverse order of third to first. And here they come. One again for Niu. One for Chen Wei-Fen. And one for our winner of the women's marathon, Zhao Anjing. And last but not least, of course, there is the matter of prize money. And let's face it, who doesn't like prize money and receiving big checks? That's third place check there to Niu Lihua, second to Chen Wei-Fen, and first prize check to Zhao Anjing. And that completes the picture. All three ladies with their times. Congratulations to all three once more, and it also completes our coverage of the 2021 C&D Xiamen Marathon this year. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.